Why Benchen has that daddy energy, but I don't know if I'm pushing it too far, and I don't know how to explain it in a way that wouldn't get me banned. But anyway, enough about me. Why does Benchen have that I want 100 of your time, you're mine? I'll be honest, I actually kind of like that obsessive energy. Because as a Pisces Venus, I would rather someone be obsessed with me than detached. Is that toxic? Absolutely. But we work with what we have. That is because if you notice, next to the Sagittarius symbol, his Pluto is conjunct Mars in the 7th house. That placement is not for the weak. It is absolutely not for the weak. It is a difficult placement to have. So this is another huge reason why Benchen has that daddy energy, because Mars conjunct Pluto in the 7th house indicates he needs to have absolute full control in relationship. And because it's in the 7th house, and the 7th house is the sign of relationships and intimacy, it's going to manifest the most when he's in romantic partnerships. Because Pluto represents our shadow self, represents areas in our life which we need to work on, he is going to attract people that can bring out the worst in him. Plus, his Scorpio Venus in the 6th house is what emphasizes his complex. So he's going to be attracted to people who aren't necessarily healthy for him, but that he feels he can fix and take care of. Which also emphasizes his obsessive energy and why he can be so controlling. This, combined with his Libra moon, makes him extremely codependent as a man, because he feels he's most masculine when he's in a relationship. On the plus side, this makes him a very passionate, he's a man of service in relationships. So Benchen is the type of partner that would worship you, but with that would have a lot of obsessive and controlling tendencies. That's also why as a Venus with a Venus square Pluto, he and I would make a great match, because I'm just as intense as him. It probably wouldn't be healthy, but man, would it fucking feel good in the present. Should I do a Bane study material? Let me know. On my comments, like, what is it? Why do I say that Benchen is a dom and Lino is a switch? And I am finally going to answer it before I go to work, and I will also use the difference between Yunho and Honjun as well. Why Yunho is a dom and Honjun is a switch. Let's go. Before I begin, I am using traditional astrology for this method, and this is also just a theory. This might not even be true. This is just what my personal opinions are after being an 18 and a stay for almost 6 years. Firstly, you have to look at their Mars sign to indicate why they have preferences in the first place. So everyone I'm talking about is going to have a Scorpio Venus, except for Yunho, who has a Taurus Venus. Now, Lino and Honjun, and I will also add Jongho from ATs as well, they are all Virgo Mars. And Virgo is a naturally service-oriented Mars sign. Same as their Scorpio Venus. Scorpio Venus as well, that star sign, yes, it may be like more nonchalant, but Scorpios are also huge service-oriented people. They are people that love to give in their relationships. Lino and Honjun to me are switches with a dom preference, because yes, whilst they prefer to be in control and initiating a good maybe 70-80% of the time, because they are ruled by Virgo in their Mars, they are naturally more service oriented. So if there is a moment where you need to like have control over them for whatever reason in the bedroom, they are more than happy to do that, because their end game is pleasing you and ensuring that you are happy and satisfied. And you see this a lot with Lino actually in regards to Benchen. If you look at the dynamic between the two of them, Lino will do whatever he can in his power to ensure that Chris has the most supportive and easiest avenue when it comes to his role as being a leader and the way that he interacts with the members. If you look at Lino, he's quite controlling with the other members, but he's quite, I don't want to say submissive, but it's more like he's more flexible with Chris and his decisions. for example, on stage, Chris, you will see a lot of the time, is always hugging and carrying and piggybacking Lino. Yet we know that Lino is not the most physically affectionate person. His love language is acts of service mainly. But we see that Lino gives up that control, allows Chris to pick him up, hug him, because he knows that that is what Chris needs at that time to feel nurtured and to feel safe and to feel cared for with the members when he's performing. Honjun's switch energy comes out, particularly with the way that he is around Songhwa. If you look at Honjun, he has a lot of confidence and a lot of assertive behavior when it comes to the way he treats his member. However, he looks to Songhwa a lot for guidance. So if you look at the way Honjun is around Songhwa, like Honjun is just whipped. It's actually kind of awkward with the way that he's always trying to be in Songhwa's presence. He's always trying to gain a sense of approval from Songhwa. And that's because I feel like the dynamic between him and Songhwa is a little bit almost bratty in a way. Like Honjun, like they both know that Songhwa initiates, Honjun denies, but they both know that he secretly loves it. And then that chase keeps going, and then eventually Honjun gives in, gives Songhwa a hug, initiates some affection, which therefore gratifies Songhwa and his love for the chase, and then the circle starts again. Even Jongho as well with his Aries moon, like, you know, Jongho is a switch by default. I do think he's extremely dominant, like 90% dom preference, but he has a Virgo Mars like Lino and Honjun, and with Scorpio Venus, particularly that he has an Aries moon, so that's amplified. These are people that want you to chase them. They want you to prove that you desire them as much as they desire you, and if that means they need to pull back their control and allow for you to be in the lead, they are more than happy to do so. However, with Bainchen and Yunho, they are doms because the reason why they are solely dominant and the reason why they love to have that control is because whilst they are service oriented, their need for dominance is different to Lino and Honjun and Jongho. Giving up control to them mentally, physically, psychologically is how they feel nurtured by you. Because Yunho with his Taurus Venus, he really values trust. With Bainchen and his Mars conjunct Pluto, he desires dedication. So they don't necessarily have that need for a chase. That's not necessarily what drives them, what gets them going. What gets them going is by you saying, my heart and my soul is in your hands, do with me as you please. Because Chris is a person with that caregiver complex, of course, that's why he just has such that, big daddy DILF energy at such a young age, is because like Yunho, nurturing to him caring for you him being cared for is by you having complete obedience and submission to him. Bainchen is the type with his Mars conjunct Pluto that it's a little bit actually psychologically, there's a bit of a darkness in there. With Chris, like Yunho, they're dominant and solely dominant because a part of why they are dominant, what gets them heated in the bedroom, is seeing how far are you willing to go to put these men as superior. How far are you willing to go? How much of yourself are you willing to give for this man? And that's why they are solely dominant, because it's not about being of service. It is. Well, I mean, it kind of is, because they
by them being service to you, that's like their exchange for your power. That's what it is with Bain Chan and Yoonho. That's why they're solely dominant, because they crave power more than anything in the relationship. Why, Yoonho sends messages on Bubble like, I'm only going to make you like me for the rest of your life. That's why he posts like that's why in a lot of TikTok videos, because someone sent me a message and I thought it was very true. She was like, have you noticed that Yoonho in a lot of his lives kind of treats a teenie as if they're like littles or children in a way? And by that I mean he really like parents us on live sometimes, like in that live where he was like feeding ice cream to the camera and he was like and he was like airplane feeding it to us. That's the energy exchange he receives from his partners and what he feels nurtured by. I will take care of you, I will love you, I will protect you, and I will basically be doting on you, but I expect your complete submission and obedience in return. I don't want you to question my behavior. I don't want you to question what my decisions are for you. If you do, that's a sign that you don't trust me enough for me to take care of you. Whereas with Chris, it's a little bit more twisted. And by that, Chris has had a history of people taking advantage of his care. That's the bane of a Libra moon in the 5th house, right? That people will constantly take advantage of his niceness. And people do. Like the messages, the bubble messages of, I can take your pain, tell me your problems, I'll withstand it all. A lot of it, the reason why he's dominant is also because he wants to ensure that by you being submissive and you willing to give him superiority in the relationship is allowing for you to not take advantage of him. Do you think one of Chris's biggest and most obvious kinks is begging? Because by you begging, by him being like, no, you need to earn my love for you. I need you to know how far you're willing to beg for me to take care of you. That, in his kind of a little bit toxic and twisted way, is him ensuring that you genuinely love him for who he is and not just what he can do for you. In summary, Lino, Honjun, Jongho are both switches because care for them is being of service and having that service in return. Yoonho and Bain Chan are doms because that is a way of exerting control and power. Okay, so this is a question I get so much on my comments, like, what is it? Why do I say that Bain Chan is a dom and Lino is a switch? And I am finally going to answer it before I go to